Good morning, audience from the Sense of Things. It's us back again, once again this week. A lot of stuff going on. We had a Fed meeting yesterday and an announcement, and we'll talk a little bit about that. Ron's got a whole bunch of good stuff for us and the last of his trivia. And we'll also discuss a couple things when it comes to a potential trade deal that is coming out today that's going to be announced between the U.S. and the UK. So stay tuned. We'll be right back on in just a second. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the Sense of Things with Ron and myself. Ron, how you doing, bud?
Not too bad, not too bad. I got to tell you, investors are still nervous. They're still bearish, but the market is going up. They've had some pretty good earnings. So we'll have to see if there's continuing follow through, at least over the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, I've been slowly working money back into the market. At this point, we were heavily bonds, and I've been slowly working it back in, but there's just a lot of things that can change quickly in the market reverse direction and on a heartbeat and getting into summer. It's just be cautious, I think, and get yourself in position to where you need to be. Especially
there's the old expression, sell in May and go away. And I got to tell you, that has been debunked over the years. It's
many
only like
times.
a 30 or 40%.
Yeah.
I think so. But
yeah,
I think that I don't know if we're going to get a summer rally. It all depends on these trade deals. Even the one that may come out, it's still not one of the top five identified before, but we'll see.
Yeah, absolutely. You want to get us started with your trivia?
Absolutely. All right. I used to be an okay dart player, not for the score. I hated doing the score, but I just loved it. In darts, what is the highest possible score using 3 darts?
36, right?
Nope.
Oh.
Now remember, think about the dartboard, and then you got the 2 circles. Yeah. Remember, the 2 circles, the outside circle, if you get it in there, it's double. So if you get it in the 20 double, it's 40.
Got it.
The middle one is triple.
Oh,
that means it's 180.
Aha. That tells you how much darts I play.
Obviously, you're just not a bar fly and a beer drinker, my man.
No, it was funny. Before we moved from Dallas, my brother-in-law, after he got divorced, we would hang out together a lot. And so he was like into darts, and we ended up just completely screwing up my garage wall out there drinking beer and throwing darts at the wall. There were, I think, more holes in the wall than there was where the dartboard actually was.
Yeah, I hear you. Obviously, you must have been blindfolded. So
yeah, that was it. Obviously.
All right. I love this one. In 1900, what weird Olympic event happened in Paris?
You don't even know where to go with that.
I could give you 100 choices. You wouldn't get it.
I'm never going to get it. Yeah.
I wouldn't get it. Pigeon shooting.
Pigeon shooting. This is awesome. This is awesome. The problem is
all right, let him go.
Have somebody run out onto an open area and just shift them up in the air and then just start.
That's it. All right, Rover, go get the pigeons. Yeah. Bring them back here.
Get the pigeons. Yes.
All right. Which animal has the highest blood pressure? And give it a thought, because it does make sense.
I'm going to say elephant.
No.
Okay.
A giraffe.
A giraffe. Okay. Yeah, because you got to get a lot of blood.
I didn't think of the elephant, head. But yeah, you would think so. But giraffe, the long neck, and
yep, yeah, you gotta, and it's always vertical, so you got to get it all the way up the neck and back.
So I saw this article 2 weeks ago. I'm sorry, 2 days ago, and then all of a sudden I saw it everywhere yesterday.
Okay,
you want to talk about ridiculous lawsuits? We are in a litigious world, as we all know. And you're a sports fan. I'm a sports fan. I'm not as much of a sports fanatic geek as I used to be, but I follow. You did follow the draft, correct? The football draft?
Absolutely.
Okay, so what was the big story with the football draft for the most?
Was Deion's son got punked.
Shedeur Sanders. Yep. There we go.
Oh, boy.
Somebody was very upset and is now suing the NFL for $100 million because of
Emotional
distress because he
distress.
was a low draft pick. Obviously representing himself because no even shyster lawyer would represent him. I
Yep.
can't wait to see when this goes in front of court to see how much the judge browbeats him. But he was basically saying he was very frustrated because he was projected to be the first or second pick, no later than the top five, and he was due to watching mediocre players be chosen in front of him.
It was
He says he
frustrating.
felt all the NFL owners colluded. And
Mm.
here's one of my favorite things, that the decisions made regarding Sanders may have been influenced by racial discrimination, violating his rights as a player. He's not even an NFL player yet. And
No.
may have engaged in unfair practices by misrepresenting the nature of the drafting process and the qualification of players. This is
Okay.
insane. Emotional
I love it.
distress.
Violated the Sherman Antitrust Act. Okay, this guy either thinks he's a lawyer or he is a lawyer that he's been smoking some wacky weed in Colorado or something.
You know what? In the article, it did say what he did. I don't have it here. But
Yeah.
listen, this is your show. I'm just a guest. So I'm just letting you know I may feel emotional distress from doing 100 episodes with you. I'm just letting you know that now.
No, you're a co-host, dude. So we can equally be sued by you.
Oh, man. Oh, I got to
I
tell
just
you, I
love the
cannot
emotional
wait.
distress.
I cannot wait for this thing to be thrown out of court because obviously this person is probably like a habitual suer. This is insane.
Yeah, I love this.
All right, GDP. So the GDP numbers came out about a week ago, and we did contract last quarter. Now, a lot of people think if we have two quarters of contraction, that means we're in a recession. No, that's a technical recession that economists use. The NBER, the National Bureau of Economic Research, determines when there's a recession. Now, this is interesting. We had a contraction in Q1 before the major tariff announcements were presented in obviously April 2nd. So it'll be interesting to see because what's going on out there with just contraction in manufacturing, contraction in retail, internationally, what's going on, which does impact us, so supply chain. I know people will say it's different this time. I don't know if we can say that.
It's never different anytime, but yeah, we'll see. Once again, 90% of these tariffs haven't even gone into effect yet. And I love I've listened to some of the conference calls with some of these companies, and especially the ones that didn't do well. Boy, that's their first thing. Oh, yeah, it was the tariffs. It was
Last quarter.
We did terribly. No, how about that you ran your company for crap?
What they're doing is they're not giving guidance, or their guidance is very tepid as far as could do this, it could do that, which doesn't help anybody. But guess what? If you're a CFO or a CEO and you do multinational business, you really don't know.
No, you don't. But like I said, so many though of the ones that really had poor quarters, poor Q1s, oh, that's the first thing. It's all this tariff stuff that's happening that it's causing our company to, okay, explain to me the last 4 quarters in a row that you've underperformed. How was that to do with anything related to tariffs? So I always love these companies that, that's the thing we can blame because we just ran a really crappy company at that point.
I hear you. All right. So the next one, so the payroll numbers came out last Friday, May 2nd, and you and I have looked at the detail of this, and we always have joked about the government jobs.
Yeah.
Now, not all of this is in the current administration, but what happened to Doge from January 20th to May 31st and getting rid of government jobs? How is that the third leading category of new jobs?
Yeah.
I don't understand this.
You got 2 million employees, so that's and
but we're high, but we're supposed to be contracting, not adding.
Oh, I know. I totally know. I think part of it too, you add government jobs in their military, which has expanded dramatically. You've got Border Patrol, which brought back a whole bunch of people. I think there's contraction, and then there's been some additions as well. into that.
We'll
And
have to
I
see
would,
this trend because there is no way this
yeah.
should be a top 3 or 5 category. I
Oh,
mean,
I totally agree. It is what it is. And the government's still a massive employer, no matter what happens, and they still have to staff stuff.
yeah. My last one is the Fed target rate. Now, the chart up here in the upper left, this was before the meeting, and
Okay.
this was as of this morning.
Okay.
So, just to let people understand what this means, right now we are 425.
Okay.
This is where we are as of right now. And you could see from April 1st to
Mm-hmm.
May 1st to May 2nd, just in 2 days, what the chances of us increased as far as staying where we are or going down a quarter of a point. Now
Mm-hmm.
let's look over here. Basically, this is saying 16% chance of going down 25 basis points, 32% chance of going down 50. And I think this is interesting because typically most strategists don't recognize if we truly are going to go down unless it's above 50%. But here
Mm-hmm.
we are, 63% probability of at least a 50% cut in the June 28th meeting. Here we are here. I'm sorry. Oh, did I screw up? I screwed up. Hold on one sec.
Oh, that's January.
Keep chatting. What are your thoughts? Because I'm going to pull it up here. I think it's
Yeah, I mean, I think they're going to go down. I just can't see them going down 50 basis points because they're so hyper cautious unless something dramatically changes. And I think the what I got from the Fed chairman, as usual, is that hey, we're keeping an eye on this stuff and we're concerned a little bit about employment, but it seems to be holding up. And we're super concerned about the tariffs adding inflation and everything else. I personally think that if we see anything in June, it's just going to be 25 basis points, and then they're going to look and see throughout the summer. I would not expect them to do anything more until the fall after that.
if they're looking for 2 to 3 rate cuts, do
Yeah.
they start in June? And
Yeah.
if so, typically they follow each other like it did
Mm.
last time.
Yeah. Yeah. And then if I remember correctly, they don't meet in August, right?
No,
Yeah.
no, you'll see
Yeah.
that
So
here,
they
June,
could do
July,
June,
and then September.
July, do 50 basis points, and then hold off until the fall and see where things are at.
So here's the updated ones.
Okay.
Basically, we were at 63% before for at
Okay.
least the 50% Fed cut, but
Mm.
now that's been reduced a little bit to roughly 53, 54%.
Okay. Like I said, I just think they're hyper cautious. At the most, I could see is 25 basis points. They might do a follow on in July, but listening to the Fed chairman, I didn't really get that from him that there's any major concern at this point that we need to be cautious. And
I think the uncertainty, as we keep saying, the elevated uncertainty is
yeah,
possible inflation. Now,
yeah,
I will say I won't get into the details of the stories, but I've talked to 3 people. 2 of them are clients that have businesses, and they're multinational. They do business with other countries as far as bringing in product.
mm,
One of them said it could be a death blow to them because of the China if that
yeah,
is not resolved,
yeah,
because their margins are gone at that
mm,
point with that tariff. And he's been doing that business for what, 14 years?
yeah.
Got a lot of employees. Apple safe, right? The small businesses are going to
Well,
suffer.
I mean, you think of all the small businesses that do import for Amazon sales. That's going to be a massive blow.
That
And it's
business.
already been, I've noticed if I order anything that I know is obviously a Chinese product, there's no show up on the door anymore like it used to be. It might be 3 days, it might be 5 days, it might be 10 days now when you order something like that, because it's already been that way for months. I see there's going to be it's going to hurt small businesses more than I think the big businesses, because big businesses can adjust where they need to.
But so small businesses are going to go away, and the big
Mm.
businesses are just going to contract. But
Yeah,
obviously, the bigger businesses, they got the cash flow to survive
sure.
whatever it is. The small businesses, they may not be able to survive 1 quarter.
Yeah, because I mean, yes, you can switch pretty easily, but there's not the structure in place. Let's say I import things from China by buying them on AliExpress or something like that, or Alibaba. Okay, so now I do that. Okay, there is not an Alibaba in Mexico or an Alibaba in India or something like that, where I can easily access those products like used to be, and
Yeah.
it was very easy. You just go on to Alibaba, order the product, and then go from there. And I think it's going to hurt no matter what happens from this, I think it's going to hurt small businesses because
Yeah.
I think China is wounded at this point. I
Yeah,
think
but they
they've
can
been
wait us
wounded.
out.
Yeah, but I think they've been wounded for a couple of years because they screwed themselves during the pandemic with a lot of especially for big businesses, it showed their weak spot with the supply chains and things like that. And I think a lot of them had already been shifting before this. And I would see it's very likely that people will shift. The problem, I think, for big business right now is they've got to see, because we're not doing trade deals as like a group or an area, and we're doing them individually, they're going to have to figure out, okay, what's the trade deal with this country? Okay, now we can start to focus on where we move our supply chains.
But remember, here's the bigger issue, and this is why Target, Walmart, Lowe's, and Home Depot went to the White House a few weeks back. What they need for the second half, and specifically in Q4, they have to order by June and July.
Yeah.
So at that, like I said, the summer should be very interesting. It's going to heat up, no pun intended, because I don't see this. I don't see this happening quickly. By the way, that whole deal with Britain and India, people were talking about their trade deal. That took 3 years.
Yeah.
That took 3 years.
Yeah.
What are we going to do this in 6 weeks?
Now,
3 months?
I think this is a little bit different White House, or a different team negotiating that is a lot more motivated. And the deal between Britain and India, there's a whole lot of bad blood still, I think, in that world. That was really overcoming more bad blood than anything. I think this is going to go relatively quick. The announcement, I saw this on Investors Business Daily today. Just a quick little article about the tariffs. It looks like that US and UK have got a deal down. And from what CNN is saying, this is what they were reporting. CNN is saying that it's going to be a 10% reciprocal tariff.
But it's 10% now.
No, it isn't. It's 25.
Oh, no, I'm just saying there's at least a 10% across the board.
That was the minimum, was 10%.
Right.
Yeah, it was 25. And that would have been put on hold. The other thing, this was interesting in this article, it said in return for accepting the 10% reciprocal, UK would pare back or eliminate its 2% tax on digital services revenue from search engines, social medias, and online marketplaces, so they stick it to our tech companies on this type of stuff. So it's likely that they'll remove that, which is good for a lot of the tech companies.
So we're making the top 7 stocks bigger.
Yes.
And more profitable.
That's correct. That's how it works there. So what else you got?
No, that's it, my man.
Oh, okay.
Till next week, we'll see how things progress through the summer. Never a shortage of conversation, that's for sure.
Nope. And it was a quiet week. The Fed announced nothing, basically, a nothing burger. I was just looking at Econo Day today. The jobless claims in line. I think although everybody thinks the world is getting worse, it's actually really not.
There hasn't been major contraction in labor.
Yeah. Yep. And we haven't seen it yet, which is interesting. You saw people move out of government, but then now government's hiring people back in. So I don't know at this point.
I hear you.
All right, folks, thanks for joining us. We're here for you always. Make sure that you share this with a friend. Make sure that you give us a comment if you're interested, and at least give us an upvote to say, hey, we appreciate what you guys are doing. So thanks a lot, and we'll see you guys here the next time.